You ever have one of those moments where you're just sitting around, maybe scrolling your phone, and you start thinking, man, what would I do if the power just went out? Like, for real? I mean, yeah, we've all had a storm knockout. The lights for a couple hours, but what about one of those serious blackouts? The kind that lasts a day or two, or even longer. I used to think, hey, I'll just light some candles, maybe dig out the old board games and tough it out. But then something happened that totally changed my perspective on what it means to be prepared, and it all started with my electric car. So picture this. It's a regular Thursday night, nothing fancy. I'm making dinner, my kids are doing homework, my partner's scrolling through recipes for the millionth time. Suddenly, boom, everything goes dark, like pitch black. The whole block, not just our house. You know that weird silence when all the appliances stop humming at once? It's almost spooky. Now, usually, I'd be scrambling for flashlights, checking my phone to see if anyone else is freaking out on the neighborhood group chat. But this time, I remembered something I'd read online about using electric cars as backup power. I'd always thought that was just some tech nerd thing like, oh sure, let me just plug my house into my car, no big deal. But hey, desperate times, right? So I head out to the garage and there's my Nissan Leaf. Not exactly the Batmobile, but it's got a full charge. I remembered reading that some electric cars can actually give power back to your house, not just take it in. I'd even bought this little inverter thing a while back, just in case, but honestly, I'd never tried it. That night, though, I figured why not? I plugged the inverter into the car, run an extension cord inside, and, no joke, we've got lights. Not the whole house, obviously, but enough to see, enough to keep the fridge running, and enough to charge. Our phones so we could keep tabs on what was going on. It was like flipping a switch from panic mode to, hey, we got this. And that's when it hit me. My electric car, the same one I used to run errands and take the kids to soccer practice, just became the MVP of the night. It literally saved my family from a stressful, uncomfortable blackout. I mean, we still didn't have Wi-Fi. Let's not get crazy. But we had the basics covered, and that made all the difference. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, cool story, but that's just a fluke, right? Most people don't use their cars like that. But here's the thing. This isn't just some random hack. More and more people are discovering that electric cars can be a total game changer in emergencies. It's not just about saving gas money or helping the environment, though those are awesome perks. It's about having a backup plan when life throws you a curveball. Before I go any further, if you're into stories like this, real-life practical stuff that actually makes a difference, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I've got a bunch more stories and tips coming up, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. All right, back to the blackout. So we're sitting there, lights on, fridge humming, and I'm feeling like some kind of low-key superhero. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts from neighbors. Hey, do you have power? How are you charging your phone? I told them about the car, and you could practically hear the disbelief through the screen. One guy even came over with his extension cord, hoping to power up his coffee maker. I mean, priorities, right? But honestly, it made me realize how many people have no idea what their electric cars are really capable of. We think of them as just cars, but they're basically giant batteries on wheels. And in a blackout, that's pure gold. Let me break down a bit. Most electric cars, like my Leaf or the Ford F-150 Lightning or even some of the newer Hyundais and Kias, have these big batteries that store way more energy than you'd ever use in a single day of driving. For example, my Leaf has a 62 kilowatt-hour battery. That probably doesn't mean much to most people, but put it this way, that's enough juice to run the essentials in your house for 2, maybe 3 days, if you're smart about it. We're talking fridge, lights, charging your devices, maybe even the TV for a little Netflix if you're lucky. And here's where it gets really cool. Some of these cars are designed with what's called bi-directional charging. That's just a fancy way of saying they can send power back out, not just take it in. In places like Japan, this is actually pretty common. After that big earthquake and tsunami a few years back, Nissan sent fleets of Leafs into disaster zones to power up shelters, run medical equipment, charge phones, you name it. In Australia, they even used electric cars to help stabilize the grid during a blackout. It's like having your own personal power plant just sitting in the driveway. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out and buy a bunch of fancy gear or turn your garage into a science lab. For most people, it's as simple as having the right kind of inverter and a couple of heavy-duty extension cords. If you want to get fancy, you can install a special charger that lets you plug your car directly into your home's electrical system. But honestly, even the basic setup is enough to get you through a rough patch. One of the best parts? It's quiet. If you've ever used a gas generator, you know they're loud, they stink, and you have to keep running out for fuel. With an electric car, it's totally silent. No fumes, no noise, just clean, reliable power. My kids even slept through the night, which never happens when the neighbor's generator is rattling away at 2 a.m. And because the car's battery is so big, you don't have to worry about running out of power after a couple hours. We ran the fridge, a few lights, charged all our phones, and still had plenty of battery left the next morning. If you've got solar panels on your roof, you can even top up the car during the day and keep the cycle going. It's like the ultimate backup plan. But let's be real. There are a few things to keep in mind. First, not every electric car can do this right out of the box. You need to check if your car supports bi-directional charging, or at least has a way to safely connect an inverter. And you definitely want to make sure your car is charged up before a storm hits. I've made it a habit to plug in every night just in case. Also, if you're thinking about powering your whole house, you'll want to talk to an electrician. There's a right way and a wrong way to do this, and safety always comes first. But for the basics, lights, fridge, phones, it's honestly pretty simple. I've talked to a bunch of people who've done the same thing, and the stories are all pretty similar. One guy in California used his Leaf to keep his fridge and lights running during a wildfire blackout. Another family in Florida powered their whole kitchen with their Ford Lightning after a hurricane. And in Japan, it's almost standard practice. Now, people just expect their cars to double as emergency power. It's kind of wild when you think about it. We spend so much time worrying about what we'll do if the power goes out, stocking up on batteries, buying candles, maybe even splurging on a generator. But for a lot of us, the answer is already sitting in the driveway. And it's not just about convenience. In a real emergency, like a big storm, earthquake, or heat wave, having backup power can be a literal lifesaver. You can keep your food from spoiling, stay in touch with family, even power medical devices if you need to. It's peace of mind you can't really put a price on. I'll be honest, I used to think electric cars were just for tech geeks or people who wanted to save on gas. But after that blackout, I see them in a whole new light. They're not just cars, they're like Swiss Army knives for modern life. And the best part is you don't have to do anything special to get started. Just keep your car charged, maybe pick up an inverter, and you're good to go. If you're thinking about getting an electric car, or you already have one, it's worth looking into what your model can do. Some of the newer ones, like the Hyundai Ioniq 5 or the Ford Lightning, make it super easy to use the car as a backup generator. But even if you've got an older model, there's usually a way to make it work. And hey, even if you never have to use it, it's pretty cool knowing you've got that option. It's like having a secret superpower you hope you never need, but you're glad it's there if you do. So, next time you see an electric car, don't just think about the fancy touchscreen or the quiet ride. Think about what it could do for you when the lights go out. It might just save your bacon one day. All right, that's my story. If you've got your own blackout survival tips, or if you've used your car in a creative way during an emergency, let me know in the comments. I love hearing how people make the most of what they've got. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. I've got a few more wild ones coming up. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Stay safe, keep your car charged, and remember, sometimes the best backup plan is the one you're already driving. Catch you next time.